This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, back-to-backers? This is Willy Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. I am the titular host. You are the smart and extremely attractive listener. We come together, magic happens, etc., etc. You know how this goes. It kind of fell apart at the end there. But how are you? I hope you're doing good. I hope you had a good week. This is one of my favorite times of the year when the days just get longer and longer. I was out driving last night at like 9 p.m. The sun was still up. It reminds me of being a kid, just running around with my friends. I feel like it's just a good nostalgic time of year. I think actually probably a lot of good songs get written or at least get inspired around this time. And I'm also in a great mood because I've got Zomboy on the show today. Ooh, baby, big episode. You know, he's one of, if not the reigning dubstep king. He's got a brand new EP out right now called Rotten Roll Part 2. And of course, Zomboy is always on tour. I'm going to put a link where you can go get all of his music, tour dates, everything in the description of this episode. And I'll tell you more about how this came to happen in just a minute. Back to Back is brought to you today by Serato. They just released, and I mean just this week, Serato Studio. I got a chance to play around with the beta for this. I've been playing around with it for a while. It's a great piece of software for all my producers out there. Serato Studio is a new beat-making software that helps simplify the path to music production. What I love about it is that it places creativity at the heart of the software, so users can spend more time making music and less time hitting technical roadblocks. And it's just got a bunch of cool features. They've got a feature called Master Key Change, where you can transpose the key of an entire project with just one click. That's huge. There's automation and plugin support to customize your sound, stem exporting, so you can actually use this with your regular DAW. What I've been doing is playing around, making sort of the skeleton of a beat in Serato Studio because it's just fun to use and quick. And then once I have something I like, I'll bring it into Ableton and really start getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. It comes built in with tons of free samples, including instruments, loops, drums, effects, all of that. So you can go download this from Serato's website right now, www.serato.com/studio. I really appreciate everyone who's helping push the podcast, spread the word, spread the good news about what we're doing over here at Back to Back. Let's keep it up. Let's keep pushing it. Every single week, I'm meeting more and more people, getting tagged in more posts. I always love interacting with you guys. Anything you put up there, if you tag me, if you tag the show, I'll always be reposting, replying. I've met so many people. It's so fun. So shout out to everyone out there helping us push it forward. And just in case you need it, I'm at Willy Joy or at Back to Back Pod on all social media. If you just want to email me directly too, if you have some questions, some thoughts, some concerns, backtobackpod@gmail.com is the address. All right. So for this conversation with Zomboy, I met up with him at his hotel out in Philadelphia. He was out there playing a festival, and I was exhausted. I found out a little ways into the conversation, you'll hear it, that he was feeling a little rough too. And despite all of that, this ended up being one of my favorite conversations I've had on this show in a long time. What a good dude, such a legend. He's one of those rare people where I really don't know where dubstep would be without him. He's just been such a torchbearer for that sound for so long. And I think really has just pushed the envelope with every single song he's put out. And the true sign, I think, is how much respect he gets from the producer community. Pretty much everybody I know looks at his productions as the gold standard. What he's able to do with his music is really rare and really inspiring. And now that I've talked to him, he just seems like a great person as well. So it's the trifecta, and I think you're really going to dig this one. So let's get into it right now. This is me and Zomboy back to back. Let's go.
I'm turning into an old man tonight. I turn 30 tomorrow.
Oh, shit. Congrats, man.
On stage.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I turned 37 last week.
You're 37.
I'm 37.
Dude, you look like 20.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wouldn't have guessed you were turning 30.
Most people, yeah, that's nice, but I'm way older than I look way older than I am, I think.
I don't know, man. I think it's all relative. Like, I feel the same way about myself, but then I've had people tell me I look younger. I think doing what we do, like, it keeps you looking young, but
I think it's only because we end up
terrible.
dressing.
Yeah.
We all end up dressing like 12-year-olds.
Well, that's true,
just to stay relevant.
That's very true.
But yeah, I've felt 40 for the last 20 years, and I'm only just now turning 30.
Is that right? Like, do you feel like you're
I've always been
becoming
very
the
much older in my head than I have been in my actual years on this earth.
Like, even when you were like a teenager or something, you felt like...
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy the same things that my friends did. They'd all be going out and like getting drunk and being stupid, and I was just like, oh, you guys are so bloody immature.
So what would you do? Just sit at home and sip tea?
Yeah, I would work.
Yeah.
Everyone else was partying. I was just working.
What were you working on?
Music.
Music, even as a teenager?
Yeah.
Like electronic music?
Not electronic, no. I was more in the like engineering and bands, and then working in the studio at that age. And then it was only later on where I figured I don't like relying on 4 other guys.
You hear that a lot in our line of work, man. Yeah. I mean, it's funny how many people, especially people in the bass music scene, come from the band background and have the same story where it's just like, well, no, I was just like the crazy one who really...
You just get...
and
couldn't
organize.
I think, the real turning point is normally people just like, why didn't they turn up for practice today? Why am I still relying on these dudes to turn up to my garage and practice?
Yeah.
When I could be making way more money and doing it on my own.
Well, so what era are we talking about when you maybe were having those thoughts of like this band thing might not be working? Is this like
age or year? Yeah, I think I was in bands up until I was about 20.
Okay.
Maybe 19. No, yeah, 19, 20. And then... and that was pretty much from the beginning of secondary school, the beginning of that's maybe middle school for you guys. I can't remember what.
Well, middle school is like 7th and 8th grade, and then
so what age is that?
That's like 12, 13.
Oh yeah, maybe a bit later than that.
Yeah.
So high school, beginning of high school is when I kind of because actually, funnily enough, growing up, I didn't have really any musical influence. My mum.
Really?
My mom really just didn't listen to music.
Well, you're from a small town, right?
Tiny, very tiny town. But yeah, my mom just didn't listen to music, so I had nothing growing up with, which is really weird because then when I got into, when I moved up to the bigger town to go to high school, all my friends had been around music their whole lives, like most people are.
Right.
Everyone's normally got this is why I get a bit sad that I didn't have a mum that was just made me listen to the Beatles, and which is why I don't have the same kind of appreciation for the classic music.
Sure, of course.
It wasn't forced. Same reason why a lot of people who didn't grow up watching Star Wars don't feel the same way about Star Wars now.
Dude, 100%.
If you weren't there.
I get this. So my TV viewing was very restricted as a kid.
Right.
And so I didn't see any of the classic shows that people recognize.
Yep.
So, people are, will make a Seinfeld reference.
Yep.
And I didn't see a single episode of Seinfeld when I was a kid. And I can go back and watch it and be like, this is a great show.
But you'll never have that same
emotional
connection to it and nostalgic feeling.
That's interesting.
Which is the same for me, going back to it, it's the same for me with music. It's funny, I didn't have, really up until I was about 12, 13, I didn't really just think about music at all. I didn't have a favorite band. I didn't go out, I'd hear things on the radio and be like, oh, that exists.
And was there a single moment you look back on? Can you remember sort of the first thing that really grabbed your attention?
I think it was just my buddies in my class started showing me these metal bands. And I was just like, oh, this is gnarly. This is exactly how I feel as a young teenager.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience.
I'm angry at everything. My body is changing, and then this is metal music.
Right, exactly. And I can't express it very well necessarily. Yeah.
But shouting at metal music makes me feel a lot better about life right now. Yeah. As a complex 13-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. A very complicated old man in a young man's
exactly.
body. Yeah.
Figuring it out. But yeah, so it was a very late start for me with music in general.
So, I mean, when you got into, well, actually, before we even talk about the band thing, so I had to ask this just because this was interesting to me. Your Wikipedia page says the town you're from is Penzance.
Penzance.
Is that the same town from the Pirates of Penzance?
Pirates of Penzance, yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like our thing.
Really?
Like,
Okay, yeah, that's
Pirates.
like, you get some tourism from that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we get a lot. Like, Cornwall is the county, and Penzance is the town, but Cornwall itself is probably one of the most beautiful areas of England. It's all like, there's nothing, growing up it's terrible because there's nothing exciting. But
where is that in England?
I'll try and paint you a visualization here. So right at the top, the big head, that's Scotland. You go all the way down to the body of England, and that's London.
Yeah.
And then you go all the way to the southwest there's a big tail.
Okay.
And right at the tip of that tail is Cornwall.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's like, and there's literally a town there called Land's End because it's like the end of the land.
Well, yeah, that does sound beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just coasts feel. It's like beautiful beaches, like award-winning beaches, like amazing coastline, and like farm, like agricultural.
Okay.
So it's all very minimal and like nothing crazy, no like city limit, no like big skyscrapers or anything like that.
Do you feel, is that part of what attracted you to kind of the more extreme stuff? Do you think like metal and all of that because it was sort of this pastoral, like in my mind, if you grow up in a town like that, it can go one of two ways. Like either you feel like, this town sucks, there's nothing happening.
No, I didn't realize it till I started kind of developing more like I was saying, at the same time I started really getting into music, I was starting to realize how much everything around me was so very boring.
Right.
So basically the only thing you can do is be in bands or drink lots of alcohol in the towns that I grew up in. So
did you do the alcohol thing?
I mean, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I definitely drank some.
Yeah.
But it's pretty normal in England to be drinking at like 13 years old.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like British people and just Europeans in general, my experience is, they'll party much younger than most of us Americans will. But then by the time they get
out
to
your system.
What would be college age for us, like 18 years old, they're way more mature.
Calm down about it. Yeah, I feel like that's because that's the time when you're not leaving impressions on people, like important impressions. And that's when you get your stupid side out of the way.
And it's kind of the time when it's okay to fuck up too, right?
Yeah, you need to learn how to drink.
Right.
I feel like it's a learning process. Like you can't just go straight into it when it becomes a legal age and expect to be like normal.
Right.
Because like, I mean, you come out to America and you're not supposed to drink till you're 21. Like, you've had no years to prepare for what's about to happen to your body.
Of course. And, while you're 18, I mean, of course, and younger too, I mean, people are sneaking around drinking, but trying to hide it. So then they get in trouble that way.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously still technically illegal to drink under the age of 18 in England, but realistically, especially with your parents or family, like, it's just normal. People wouldn't say anything. Like, you go out for dinner, you'll have a beer and you're 14 with your parents, and it's just like, it's fine.
Yeah. I think that's the more mature way to do it, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Otherwise, you end up not knowing what to do with it and abusing it.
And Lord knows, I mean, in our line of work, we see enough of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, so this was the interesting thing. Like, I think probably due to the fact that we drank a lot earlier in that age, now, when I actually turned 18, I quit drinking altogether. I didn't drink till I just quit from about 18 till probably about a year into after I started Zomboy, actually, which was, so when I first started Zomboy and I was touring, I'd never drank alcohol.
Right.
I didn't want to be around alcohol. It just angered me, if anything, because I'd seen the kind of, on the dark side, like the devastating effects it can have on people.
Oh, absolutely.
So I just didn't want to be anything, I didn't want any part of it. So I would just, I mean, it's not changed too much now. Like, we turn up to shows right when we need to, and we get out pretty quickly afterwards. Like, we're not ones for hanging around. Yeah. I feel like you're either one or the other. There's not much in between. And it's not to say that like there's a right and a wrong way of doing it. It's
not at all. I mean, everyone has a different personality. I mean, there's some people, like I saw John is playing the same show in Philly.
Yep.
I mean...
No doubt he'll be partying.
I was going to say that, but that guy, like, if he wasn't partying, I would be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, is something wrong?
Yeah, definitely. Whereas, like, normally it's the opposite with me. If they see me drinking, they're just like, Are you all right?
Right, yeah.
Is everything okay?
I had John 12th Planet on this show, and over the course of the hour that we talked, he had a glass about this big that was entirely full of whiskey.
Oh, God.
And by the end of it, all gone. And
I mean, that man can put them back.
yeah. And
But he's got years of experience, though.
He is, man.
Like
He's
I
a
said,
professional.
experience. You gotta. Yeah, you need to practice drinking.
Yeah,
and he's
it's
had
true.
plenty of practice.
Yeah, yes.
But at least it was whiskey. It was a good choice of alcohol to have.
Yeah, true. I used to be a whiskey guy, and then I had a bad experience, and I can't really do it anymore.
That's me and vodka.
Oh, there you
so
go.
The first time I ever got drunk, I stole like is it a fifth? It's
Yeah,
like the smaller bottles.
Yeah, that's a fifth, right?
So yeah, me and my buddy stole like a fifth of vodka from his dad's liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
And we drank it neat together. We were. This wasn't first time drinking. Sorry, this is first time drinking like hard liquors.
Right.
But I was about 14, and we like shared like a fifth of vodka between ourselves. And I got so drunk that I was throwing up in my sleep on my back.
Oh,
and luckily, my buddy was. I don't know how he was smart enough to think this, but he was smart enough and sober enough to push me over onto my side. Because I was just vomiting upwards. Like, I could have died, essentially.
Right? Oh, that's bad.
And then, obviously, since then, I can't look or even sniff vodka.
Yeah, I have a similar
It's a
thing.
trigger for me.
Yeah, I have a very, very similar thing with whiskey.
Yeah.
And I mean, to bring
That's
it...
sad, because whiskey is such a good drink.
Well, you know what? I can still do like a scotch, like a really like smoky, like, you know.
Nice, oaky.
Yeah, like something super like to one side like that. I can do that. But
at least you get to still enjoy some part of
well,
that.
and this is bringing it back to what you were saying earlier. I mean, I've said this on the show before, but I barely drink at shows anymore. I barely drink at all in my life anymore.
Yep.
And I feel like I end up talking about it because maybe subconsciously I just want to stop totally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not doing it in excess, I feel like it's fine. But yeah, personally, I'm just not really a drinker at all.
Yeah.
Besides, this is bad. This is like poor timing because right now I'm feeling pretty fragile because last night me and all my buddies all like gave me a surprise birthday party yesterday in LA last night. They didn't know that I had to fly to Philadelphia at 8 a.m. from LAX, which is like a 90-minute drive from my house. So I had to be up at 4:30 a.m. this morning, but they didn't know that. So they kind of just took me out, got me very drunk on sake and whiskey.
Right.
And we went bowling, and it was very fun, and I appreciate them a lot for it, but yeah, I'm feeling it today.
Yeah. Nah, well, and that's the problem, right? I think that's where some people get in trouble is that, you know, you have a night like that, then you have the 8 a.m. flight, then you get to the show, and either you have to just, you know, dive under the covers and like take a nap till midnight till you play a show, or you start drinking again, right?
The hair of the dog.
Yeah.
That goddamn dog. Because he will bite you.
Yeah. Who keeps letting that dog out?
I know. I want to meet this dog. But yeah, that's just one of the very rare, like, I think I was talking earlier, and this is me. I can count on one hand where I've actually had to deal with traveling, being like hungover because I just refuse to. I just don't.
Oh, it's the
I
worst.
see all my like my the buddies that are also DJs in the industry that can just party every night and do a full travel day the next day and just keep going. And I'm just like, I just don't understand how they do it.
It's got to be genetic, right? I've wondered about this too.
Or practice.
Yeah, I guess so.
Going back to the practicing drinking.
Practice makes
It
perfect.
sounds
It's
terrible, I know, but
No,
I
but
feel like it's a thing.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's, you know, to to bum us out. I mean, that's sort of how addiction starts, right? It's like,
It's just how far you take your practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you become Olympic style, that's when it turns pretty dark.
Yeah. But I mean, for you, it's good that you were kind of able to get it out of your system early.
Yeah. I realized what I did and didn't like pretty early on.
Yeah.
Which I feel it's probably wouldn't be up for a debate, but it's like, I think it's important that you got to do that kind of stuff when you're a kid, just so you know the full impact of what that stuff does.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because it'll derail you later in life if you're not ready to deal with it.
Yeah, precisely. But yeah, so I'm like finding me getting me when I'm in this state is very rare, which is tired and a little bit hungover.
Well, I wouldn't have guessed, man. Again, you seem great. You look great.
I did just eat a very nice meal, so I feel like that's kind of perked me back up again.
But that's good.
Before that, I was feeling pretty rough.
What kind of a student were you? Like when you were, so you're getting into the band thing, you find metal music, you're having a drink here and there.
Yep.
Were you avoiding the school thing, or was that kind of happening in parallel?
In terms of my experience in education, I was, through like the younger parts of my education, I was a pretty average student, like nothing special, nothing terrible. And then it came to like high school and I really just kind of lost interest in education at that point, and I was not doing great. All the choice subjects I chose were all creative. So it's like art, music, catering.
Catering?
Oh, yeah, I love cooking.
I love cooking too, but specifically catering. I feel like that you don't see.
It was
that
very much more tailored towards like bigger scale cooking, but like that was where it all kind of started. Plus, my mom was a chef as well, so she kind of got me into cooking as well.
Okay, there you go.
And then the other subject was drama, so because I loved drama.
Me too, actually. I was big. Like I actually thought I was going to get into drama when I went to university. Right. And then I kind of got there and was I'm not on these guys' level.
Yeah, it can get pretty intense. But I was in that similar boat before I chose what I went to university for, which I ended up doing sound engineering. But up until a day before the hand-ins for like the applications for the degrees, I was going to choose catering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like
what made you switch?
Most of my buddies were doing music.
Oh, there you go.
And that was really it.
That's a good.
But yeah, so I was like average student, got into high school and just kind of really lost interest in the education system, except like the creative stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were saying that when everyone else was going out, you were staying at home and working on what you were interested in.
This came later. So this was like the high school stuff, I was just kind of just gave up, didn't care about it. And luckily, even though I didn't get good grades at all, I ended up getting into my choice universities just from my why am I blanking on such a simple word right now? Portfolio.
Oh, portfolio. God. There we yeah.
Wow. I blame this on alcohol. Sorry.
I wish the listeners could have seen the hand motions you were just making.
It got me there, though. It got me there. So just from my portfolio alone, they actually gave me an unconditional offer. So not even considering my past grades. So in that
portfolio, was that
like recordings, my
these are bands I've recorded, these
like,
are songs I've written.
Exactly.
Okay.
And all that. So they luckily, thank God, they gave me an unconditional offer to the course of my choice without needing the actual grades to back it up.
Right.
That was the difference of going to just like a regular kind of government-funded university and this one, which was like an academy, like an actual designated self-funded academy of music. They kind of cared more about what you could do rather than what you've done.
Sure,
and what, not to get into a whole different subject, but education at that age shouldn't be as important as it is to even I know in America it's the same, there's so much emphasis on getting
very much so.
It's such important part of their lives, but you're 15 years old, you shouldn't be fucking put under that much pressure for the rest of your setting you up for the rest of your life when you're that age.
Yeah, I agree.
You just figured out what your dick does, and now you're being expected to make really smart choices.
Trying to figure that out.
Motherfucker, I'm just still jerking it. How am I going to get an A on this?
I mean, I'm split about it because I had that very similar experience where I went to a private fancy high school,
right?
And I got good grades, and I went to a prestigious university, and all of that. I was sort of just following what I thought I was supposed to be doing. I could do the work, and I was pretty good at it, but it wasn't something I was passionate about.
Right.
And then it wasn't really till halfway through university that I sort of realized that, this is going to end and I have to
do something,
figure out what to do with my life.
Yeah.
And it was a really weird moment. And so I completely agree. But then I'm also I think about if I ever had a kid, how
would you want them to do it?
Well, right, because I do think education is important. I wouldn't be totally hands off. I don't know what I would do.
I feel you definitely, no matter what your opinions are, you have to let you have to go through it. You can't just stop someone doing it just because you didn't enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
And like what your opinions are, you can't kind of, especially on your kids, like you can't push that agenda on them.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
you'd have to let them experience it, but you, at the same time, that would make you not so mad if they kind of came through and just like, you know what, I fucking hate school.
Right.
Like, fine, you did it and you realize that, most of the time school is bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to come to that yourself.
Exactly. They got to come to it. And I think I guess it's just really encouraging whatever they're interested in, and being, and if in this hypothetical child that I'm now raising from birth, like if they don't have any direction, well, then you'll follow my plan.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You give them ample time to figure it out for themselves, but then you can set a little cutoff and be like, right, cool, you're following my footsteps now.
How did your parents feel? Was it just you and your mom?
Yeah, just my mom, really.
How did she feel about you going off to this very specialized
she was
music school?
So supportive. She'd always been very supportive. She brought up me, my brother, and my sister, so she brought up 3 kids on her own. So she was always working her ass off to bring us up, but at the same time, she was never trying to like push her agenda or make us do stuff that she wanted to do. She wanted us to do. She kind of just gave us the right life lessons, but at the same time encouraged us to do what we wanted to do, which was very lucky because it could have gone very differently.
Yeah, that's great. You have a couple siblings?
Yeah, I have an older brother and older sister.
Okay.
And
what'd they end up doing?
My brother is a tattoo artist. Okay. So he actually does all my tattoos.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And my sister is still figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
But she's a people's person.
Okay.
She just likes being around people and helping people around her.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best qualities a person could have.
Yeah, exactly. She's just trying to figure out where that sits in the kind of job schemes.
Yeah. it's tough out there, man.
Yeah. So briefly, in between like the compulsory education that we had in England, which stops at 16, unlike America where it's 18, I believe, right?
I forgot that.
So compulsory education stops at 16. So when the compulsory side of it stopped, I stopped. So I took like 2 years off from education. After that, I was just like, I don't want to be in education.
Right.
So
what did you do in those 2 years?
I worked in a coffee shop.
Okay.
And I worked in a coffee shop during the week, and on the weekends, I managed to I ran a recording studio out of my bedroom. And I had bands coming around from all around England coming down to record with me in my bedroom because they loved me and they loved like what I did. So
were you, like,
in my mum's house, in my bedroom, I would literally tip my bed up and we would have a full setup. We would set up full kits.
Oh, I love that.
Everything, recorded it all within one bedroom.
So I mean, you must have been decently good already.
I mean, for a kid, I was earning like between like 500 and 1,000 pounds a weekend recording bands.
Yeah, that's real money.
Yeah, that's like, and living at home with no rent and no overheads.
Yeah,
it was pretty great. I was a hustler. I knew what I wanted to do and I was hustling through it.
I mean, how did you even, I guess, once some recordings get out, just more people hear about what you're doing. But how did you, how did you convince somebody to come and just record their album?
So it all started from being in bands. So I was in bands and I was like, why am I paying this person this much money to record when I could probably do a better job? And that's when I started getting more interested in it. And I started recording my own band.
Yeah. So you would just be in someone else's studio kind of checking out the gear, seeing what they're doing.
Yeah. So then it ended up being like, you know what, fuck this. I'll record us. So I started recording my band. And then my buddies' bands would be like, oh, where'd you get this done? I'd be like, oh, I just did it in my bedroom. And they're like, oh, can we do it? I'd be like, yeah, give me some money.
Yeah.
It kind of just spread like that, word of mouth, and it just got.
Well, that shit is hard, man. That's hard to do. Like, I almost feel like as electronic music producers, we're privileged in not having to do that kind of shit anymore. Because I have a music degree, and part of my program was, recording engineering and that kind of stuff, which I was not that good at really ever, but
it's becoming a lost art for sure because no one cares. No one needs to really care anymore.
That's absolutely right. But even for me, I mean, I recorded some bands' albums and all that. I mean, that was way harder than anything I do now.
Oh yeah. It's a whole different game.
What did you learn from? Like, are there any of early things you learned from those experiences that you still apply today that you think affects your process?
The thing I took away most from recording and engineering with metal bands specifically was patience, because you're not going to get a good take very quickly. Yeah. It takes a long time to get like the perfect, and there's so much you can do in the actual editing part and the arranging part of the kind of the mix down and the actual engineering of the song, but getting a performance right, which you don't have to worry about in dance music.
Right.
There's no such thing as getting a performance right, really, unless it's a vocalist.
Yeah. The synth is never having like a bad day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like you don't have to tune, well, not anymore really, unless you're using old analog gear, but you don't have to tune synths and you don't have to worry about bleed and room sound and thousands of different factors that can ruin a take. And so you learn a lot of patience with that.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I took away most. It's like if I couldn't get something right, like in my songwriting now, if I can't get something straight away, I'll be like, it's okay. It'll come.
Yeah.
Just got to be patient.
Do another take.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, honestly, as basic as it is, patience is the thing I took away from.
Oh, I mean, that's a huge skill, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think any producer, I'm sure lots of people listening to this, you have those days where you're just beating your head against the wall.
Yep.
And
just got to refocus your energy on something else if you're hitting the wall.
Oh, 100%.
That's like a bit of another subject, but that's kind of like.
I go outside, I take a walk.
Yeah. Well, I end up just, if I'm not in a creative mood and like music writing mood, I'll end up just engineering some samples.
Sure.
Or trying to like keep my time used wisely.
Yeah. Flip it. That's Wookie posted something about that the other day that I really liked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said something like, if you're frustrated working, just try to look at it from a different perspective. Like if you're working on a song and you realize it's not working, then, take your favorite parts and remix that, like treat it like someone else's song and remix it.
Yeah.
Or even just like chop it up for parts and now you have a sample pack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's always, just probably like every other producer, but I've got just thousands of like works in progress, just like in folders, which I constantly go back into and like, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a cool lead line. And like, that was a cool clap.
How do you keep track of them? Because
my labeling and like organizational system is so anal. Like,
really?
I'm actually really good at.
Oh, that's good.
Organizing. So everything's in like months and years folders.
Right.
So like, I just have to remember a period of time where I was writing cool stuff and I'll be like, I'll just go back into that area.
Yeah. That's kind of fun too, because then you get a little snapshot of sort of where your life was at in different points.
Super interesting. Rather than just having them all in just like a random folder, everything is like, everything. I always create a new folder every month, and then everything I write that month goes into that folder.
And I don't know you almost at all, but my sense is that you're sort of always writing, like a pretty prolific guy.
Up until recently, I've always have been like, I don't know what it is recently, but I've decided to take a bit more time for myself and not just completely submerged in music, because not that 30 is old or anything, but like the older you get, the more you got to realize that, stuff's important, but living life is also as much, but more
1,000%, yeah.
So actually at the minute, I'm going for a very interesting phase of just enjoying time with myself and my friends and family, and not just hardcore grinding and just locking myself away all the time, because
is it hard?
I've done that for the last 9 years.
Do you get the itch now? Like if you're just taking a hike one day and you're like, I should be working.
Well, that's the thing. It brings a whole new different creative outlook onto it, because I'm doing things now which I've never really done before, and it's like it triggers new ideas, and I'm just after a while you have to just switch things up a bit, otherwise you just end up in the same process, writing the same music.
Were you getting sick of the process?
I think so. Honestly, I mean, I always feel like this after a release anyway, because like obviously I just put out an EP a few months ago, and all the build up to that, writing and finishing an EP for me is actually very interesting, because the way I used to write, I'd normally just always be writing, and then I would like throughout the year I'd choose what I'd want to release. But more recent times, it's more been, I don't know if this is like a statement on how just the industry works now, but management, the label say, right, we want to put a record out here. So, and that's when I start writing music. I don't just, it's not normally like as free and flowing as it used to be.
Yeah.
It does get, I don't know, I can't speak for anyone else, but the longer you do it, it gets harder for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And
people think that the longer you've been doing it, the easier it gets, because you're so used to doing it. But I think anyone with actual integrity and the need to change and develop will admit that it gets harder and harder, because you constantly want to be, you never want to be the same.
Right. And I think it's easy to get comfortable. Like I don't like
that's
being comfortable.
That's a terrible place to be. That's a terrible place to be, both career-wise and just in life.
Absolutely. And I think another part of it that maybe gets glossed over is, anyone in our sphere, like any producer, any DJ, you reach a certain level of success and the outside perspective is, oh, you made it, you're good, you're golden. But internally, at least, and I'm only speaking for myself, but anytime I would get to like a certain rung or achieve a certain goal, then I would just start thinking immediately, I have to change everything.
Yeah,
I can't just do the same thing.
It gets harder and harder because you've got
you second guess
more to
yourself.
live up to. You have more riding on it. It just gets harder and harder.
How do you feel about like an outside perspective on your work? Like, do you feel pressure from people? You have a lot of fans. Like, do you feel the pressure of we expect a certain thing from Zomboy?
I've actually been really lucky with my fan base. My fan base is, I've seen a lot. I see like a music fan base in general, and there are some real cunty people out there. But for some reason, I've just been blessed with my fan base is so forgiving and so patient and so just supportive of pretty much everything I do. I've never had periods of time where fans have just been like berating me with just like, what the fuck are you doing? This is shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously still get like the occasional people who are just like, why don't you write music like you used to? But it's never like an aggressive way. It's just, it's more like just like a, how come? How come?
They're genuinely curious.
And then I'll explain it. But like, look, we can't all do the same things forever. We need to change and develop, which I don't know how many times a DJ or musician or producer has to say it to their fan base. Like, look, I can't do the same thing forever. Like that you're right. That's just not wise.
Well, and in reality, they don't want you to, like, if you really got down to the core of it, like say...
No, they were like, why the fuck are you still writing that song?
Right.
Like, you did that before.
Right, exactly.
This is why, like, you have to just make these decisions for yourself and you have to come to it yourself. You can't just be completely listening to the fan base. Yeah, they're there for you to offer opinions and advice on what they like, but at the end of the day...
Do you feel like, and tell me if this is a crazy theory, but hearing you talk about, sort of how you've switched up the creative process, you're taking more time for yourself, I feel like that almost kind of mirrors what's been happening with the dubstep world in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it has to. The dubstep world it's very resilient, but it's also...
But in the last couple of years... fragile, and to me, it's been very samey in the last couple of years.
Exactly. But it does that. And I mean, it's been around for it's got to be close to 2 decades, really.
Well, and I mean, who could have predicted that in 2019, dubstep would be...
Still a thing. And still...
Well, not only still a thing, I mean, it's
still
like...
so big.
On top, in a way.
It's besides drum and bass and house music, obviously, it's the longest lasting genre in the dance world.
It's crazy, man.
But it's staying up there, and it's stayed, like, don't get me wrong, because I fucking love drum and bass, but drum and bass has never really had that appeal outside of Europe and maybe like Australia and things like that.
It's a tough sell. I love it too, but yeah.
Whereas dubstep has just gone from strength to strength. Yeah, it has its downtime and it has its moments of like oversaturation and needs to reset. But inevitably it comes back even stronger and harder. And every DJ, it doesn't matter like what kind of music you play, somehow dubstep will end up in their sets somewhere.
Yeah, it's true, man. There's a demand for it. I feel like with you, when you put out Like a Bitch, like that to me is still the anthem. Like that was like the defining, to me, that defines the modern era of dubstep. Like not just what it sounds like, but sort of the attitude and what it's become,
Yeah, I definitely think I ruined dubstep with that one.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
like that's going to be one of those. Everyone has their song where it's like, I'm never going to get better than that.
Yeah,
and I'm never going to write a song that's had this much impact.
Right, that's the way I would put it. I think you could absolutely write a better song, but it's the impact of it, right? Because I'm sure when you put it out, you weren't thinking this is going
absolutely
to be
not.
Yeah,
we almost didn't release it.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the discussion?
Well, it's because the sample that I used, the Lil Jon, Stop Acting Like It, get your hands up. We had to clear it, and that was taking a long time and
a lot of money.
And Lil Jon's team isn't exactly the most responsive team.
No, they aren't. I've been trying to get them on this show for a while, and it's a process.
Even while trying to give them money, they're still very unresponsive.
Yeah, right.
It's not just like when you want something from them, it's when you want to give them something as well. All that aside, we were just kind of like, but at the same, I was like, I don't want to put this song out if it hasn't got that sample in. So I really think that's like that was the saving grace was my stubbornness to keep that sample in there. I was like, I don't want to put this out. And
history has proven you're right with that one.
I mean, you still won't ever hear a night of bass music without that sample in it somewhere.
It's crazy, man. Did you ever, have you met Lil Jon ever? You talked to him about
Actually,
it?
haven't, no. No, we've never spoken.
I wonder if
It's
he's
just been
aware.
Teams. Oh yeah, I know he plays it at his radio show, like as like his performances. I know he plays it.
Yeah. Because he does. I mean, he does EDM shows.
Yeah, exactly, like his Vegas stuff.
Yeah,
but no, I've never had the pleasure of meeting him. I just want to meet him and go, yeah.
I've heard he's a very nice guy.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it.
Great DJ. I've seen him DJ.
Really?
Great. He was a DJ before he was like an MC or anything.
No shit.
Yeah, he was a radio DJ first.
Okay, that makes sense.
Out in Atlanta.
Yep. It all makes sense now.
And a producer too. People forget that he produced many of those like crunk hits.
Yep.
You know, and I mean that, not to go too deep into it, but to me, that's almost like a blueprint for where the American dance scene was going to go years later, you know.
Doing it all your own.
Yeah. And just those 808s and like kind of, you know, doing it the wrong way, quote unquote.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you, so, you know, now that, let's take it back. You're in Academy of Recording Arts. Is that what it was?
It's called the Academy of Contemporary Music.
Contemporary Music.
ACM, yeah.
And
same place that Ed Sheeran went to. We both studied around the same time.
Yeah, good friend of the show, Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, Ed.
Yeah. Oh, classic Ed. How did you come across electronic music? Because it sounds like you were very focused on metal.
This academy that I applied to and ended up getting into, the reason behind it was I wanted to carry on sound engineering. So I was actually doing the degree in sound engineering, and it was still all coming from just wanting to engineer bands, like rock bands, musicians, like I do the quote unquote real musicians.
Yeah. Did you have any perspective on what electronic music was?
Not at all. Not in the slightest.
That's interesting because
Zero.
In my stereotyping mind, you know, like everyone in the UK is at least aware of dance music.
Yeah. But not where I'm from.
Okay.
We had like the radio top 40.
Right.
Which was all trash.
Yeah.
So that was like the closest I was exposed to dance electronic music. But yeah, I moved up to Guildford, which is just outside of London, which is where the academy was. Just planning on carry on doing my sound engineering, getting my degree. And the house that I moved into, all the housemates were from London. So they'd been around dance music their whole lives. And they started showing me all the stuff that they liked. And it was all very like minimal, progressive tech house. And I was just like, fucking kill me. Because obviously I'd come from listening to really intricate metal. And that was like my thing.
That's
like,
not a good entry level.
Nope.
Yeah.
And they were showing me this stuff. And I was just like, are you fucking serious? This is music to you guys.
Yeah. This kick drum for 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, obviously I have a whole new appreciation for it now. But back then I was just like, this is fucking garbage. Like, what are you doing? And then they would show it to me more and more. And I'd be hearing it more and more around the town that I was studying in because it was closer to London, closer to the heartbeat kind of thing. And then it took someone one day one of my housemates showed me Skrillex.
Okay.
They showed me Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites.
God damn it. So
that iconic little number.
Skrillex launched so many people, like just doing the show,
did.
talking to people. Like, of course we all know that, but like the number of people I've heard say that.
Yeah, I mean, he's the reason that bass music is the way it is today. He took it and made it interesting and like desirable to people outside of like the headsy kind of.
Well, and certainly for those of us who were into metal, which I also was, you hear that and, you know, there's an instant connection.
You're like, holy shit, this is electronic metal.
Right.
This is something I could get behind. And then, my housemates just made me. I was not willing. They were just like, just try and write it. Just try and make something like this. And I was just like, I don't know anything about sequencing. I'm only
what did you do? That's interesting.
This is like where all my in university, the real point in going to university is getting as fucked up as you can in England and then hopefully coming out with a degree. But for me, I just took that time. I was like, like previous to this, this was such a huge step for me because I'd grown up in this town where I'd come from, and I'd never had any interest on leaving. I was happy just running my little studio, working in a coffee shop, and living with my mum. And then I had an epiphany one day. Stood working in the coffee shop.
There's more out there.
As like one of X amount of people in the day that come in and order an espresso rather than an espresso.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Right.
Like, I was 20 years old at this point, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
You have this flash of you 20 years later,
I was
still
like,
there.
What am I doing? I need to get out of here today. And I knew that one of my buddies, who was actually used to be in one of the bands that I was in, he was going up to the ACM to do a degree in like the guitar. Yeah, you can do a degree in guitar. And he was just like, yeah, check it out. They have like a production course. So I went home that night, checked it out, submitted my portfolio. And then within 2 months of me submitting my portfolio, I was leaving Cornwall, moving up to London, basically.
And were they teaching you also how to, the rudiments of electronic music production, or was that all you again? Okay.
Nothing, which is funny because now they actually created a course because of me.
Really?
Yeah, they have a new degree called the EMP, which is electronic music production, and I'm like the poster child of it.
Oh, that's so funny. Do you go back there and like talk?
Yeah, I've done like master classes there and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And I actually still have a house in Guildford where the academy is, because when I'm in Europe, I've got some really good friends that I went to university with who I still actually share a house with back in England when I do go back. So when I'm out touring in Europe, I can go back and stay and relive my university days with my buddies and hang out. So it's I get to go back there a little bit, which is always nice. But when I started engineering, I started out on Cubase, SX2, some OG shit.
Yeah.
And then when I got really serious into producing bands, I moved over to Pro Tools, as you would. And then it was actually when I moved up to Guildford to study at the academy where they were backed by Apple. So we started using Logic.
Oh, there you go.
So now I'm a Logic man.
That's lucky, man. Yeah.
Because they have come a long way since when I started on it on like 8.
I remember because I had a couple friends who used Logic like, over 10 years ago, like 15 years ago, something like that.
God,
and I would look at what they were doing. I just couldn't even understand. I was still trying to make electronic music on Pro Tools, which was just
even to this day
stupid.
Is still impossible.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
They've tried, bless them. Oh, Avid. Just give up. Just stay in your lane, Avid.
You're fine.
Yeah, you're good. You still got the old age of engineers that still use your product for now.
Yeah. Got a little dark at the end. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's true though, man. I mean, I wonder where all these like SSL consoles are going to end up,
I'm hoping there'll be a revival in the love for real analog. I mean, there is enough in synth world.
We're seeing it in dance music right now.
Everyone's going for the modular.
Yeah. Even starting to creep into the bass world a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of new guys.
Jake, I know Jake Kill the Noise is loving his modular setups.
Yeah, he's been getting into it. John's, formerly Jenton John's. His whole new EP is all analog stuff. Way. It's really good.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that kind of, the same way that, if you want to look at it this way, the same way that Urban Outfitters brought back vinyl, essentially.
Yeah.
You're always going to have that, like, the cool side of the music industry where there's people doing shit that's just so unnecessary, but it's cool.
In this scenario, is bass music Urban Outfitters?
Not bass music. Nah, house music is the Urban Outfitters.
Okay,
sorry, but that's the closest representation, I think.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
And okay, so you heard Skrillex, mind blown moment.
Yeah, so they made me. They were just like, look, just try and write some stuff.
Yeah,
I was like, fine, I'll try and figure it out. So then I just got obsessed, and I have a very obsessive nature where I just if I want to learn something, I'm gonna fucking learn it.
Yeah.
So
they were off partying.
Yeah. So I spent a few weeks just locked in my room, just figuring out what synthesis was, because I wasn't even really aware of it at the time. I was like, sawtooth, huh?
Right.
What's this?
That's a weird name.
Yeah. They needed to go to the dentist. And I just kind of
Did you take to it pretty fast?
Oh yeah. I threw myself into it head first. I was up for 20 hours a day, just kind of figuring it out because it was just interested me so much because it was such a different world coming from just like straight up engineering.
And were you thinking at all about the applications of it, or was this a purely creative?
Just a learning creative experience.
Drinking it in. That's so cool, man.
And then I wrote a couple of demos and I uploaded them on SoundCloud through my own personal Facebook page as well. Like, it wasn't an artist page. I didn't have anything remotely as an artist. It was just like some ideas. And then from those 2 demos, the first 2 ever demos I ever wrote, electronic music wise, my now manager found me.
Really? Schism found you off of that?
Tommy Schism found me off of 2 stupid demos on my personal Facebook page, which he'd gotten shown through a friend.
Okay.
And he reached out to me through the SoundCloud link, messaged me. I had no idea who anyone was. And he was just like, look, I really think we're really interested in signing you to the family of Never Say Die. And I was just like, I had no idea who anything of this was because this wasn't my world. And I was just like,
whatever you say.
Yeah, I wasn't actually planning on I just did this to shut my friends up really. And it was just like, yeah, that might be so, but I think you're going to be a star. And I was just like, okay, I'm a broke ass student and someone wants to sign me. Fuck it.
Yeah. Did you have, I mean, when you were in the bands, any of that, did you have any of those, like Hollywood dreams? Like, did you want to be on a stage? Was that a thing for you?
Never as a DJ.
No, of course.
Always as a performing in bands. Like, we did like some really minor touring around England in the bands, but like the real bullshit where it's just like the locals and a goat came out to watch us.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. We've all been there. And but yeah, I obviously always, it's every musician's dream to play in front of tens of thousands of people.
Sure. I guess I was just asking, for some people, like, especially like engineers, there's some people who don't want to be in the spotlight.
It's not for them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think just because of how much I loved being in bands and loved playing music as well as making it, it was definitely a dream.
And it's so funny to me that, Skrillex was the entryway, and then while you were in the UK, which is, where dubstep comes from, right? And what era are we talking about when this was happening? Is this like 2010-ish, earlier?
I started Zomboy in 2011.
2011, okay.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, I guess the explosion of dubstep is maybe leaving the UK by that point.
Yep. I mean, Sonny definitely spoiled it for the UK.
I know there was some bad feelings.
That was okay to be made.
Yeah.
Because for what went on after that, obviously it just became a global phenomenon.
Well, and you and he, I mean, you guys worked together and had a do you still talk to him? You talk to him lately?
Now and then. Yeah. He's a busy man.
Yeah, and he is.
I feel like, I don't know this is just my guesses from just seeing his social presence. He's going through very similar things where he's just kind of detaching himself away from a lot of things and doing what he wants to do now and rather than being told what to do.
And when he drops whatever he dropped, these beautiful little things are leaking out. They're all amazing.
Yeah, it's all beautiful stuff. Like, he's definitely obviously completely switched up what he's about and what he's doing. But if that's what he's enjoying doing, then fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's sad. And I've been on record many times to just say that, like, I just want to see him come back and do the stuff that got so many hundreds of thousands of people wanting to do.
You're that fan now.
Absolutely. I've always been like a fanboy with Sonny. Like, he's the reason I started doing this. I still think he's the greatest. And a huge part of me obviously wants to see him just for good old times come back and do something gnarly and switch up the game again like he would.
I'm sure he will eventually. I mean,
I don't blame it. Like,
you still see, he still plays a lot of dubstep in his DJ sets,
But the amount of pressure that's relieved when you don't have to worry about sound design as much.
True.
Good God, that man's living the dream. Yeah. I mean, not to say that he's not doing amazing sound design still, but like, trying to come up with something original in bass music
that's an interesting thing
hard.
That I think is unique to bass music, right? Is that it's not only writing a good song and doing all the rest of it. Then there's this sort of, I always call it an arms race in terms of the sonic quality, the sound design, all of that. I mean, I think your music, you've always been really good at it's always great sound design. It's always interesting, new, and cool. But then it's also a song.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
I don't like really writing tracks.
Yeah,
I like writing songs for sure.
And that's my issue. I've been yelled at before because people think I don't like modern dubstep. I do like dubstep, but it's so much of it is what I would call producer music.
Yeah,
where
it's just dance floor hits. Like no one's aiming for like stuff for people to listen to in their own time. It's all just like dance floor bangers.
Well, and I would take it even a step further and say it's sometimes for me, it's not even a dance floor banger. It's like hearing the guy jerking off in his studio. You know?
Everyone wants to be noisier.
Right, exactly.
No one can be noisier because it's noisier.
Yeah, no.
Everyone wants to be the producer's producer.
Yeah, and I don't know. That's not a...
You're not appealing to the right people.
Well, that's the thing, right? And of course, in like my ego, I want every other producer to think I'm a good producer, but
they're not going to pay you.
Right, exactly. And they're not going to sustain.
Not that I'm saying that this is about money.
No, but
it does help though.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, I think we were saying before we started recording, you were saying, going to these small towns, you think about if this ever dried up, what's the exit plan? Where's my parachute? Because this could go away at any time, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
You got to be ready.
Do you think about that? Like I think about that sometimes.
All the time, yeah. It's always a constant.
For me, it's almost worse when things are going well, like mentally.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, this is going too well. What the fuck? What's going to happen?
Yeah, it's hard to enjoy it in a weird way.
Yeah, but I think it is important to just let go of that and enjoy it when you're in it because it's not going to be there forever. And would you rather spend your time in that moment dreading about what could come or just enjoying it?
Well, you're preaching to the choir, man. I mean, that's because that's the hardest thing to do, especially when you're on tour all the time and it's a whirlwind and you're no sleep. It's hard to just enjoy the moment and be there.
There's not much to enjoy in those moments.
Well, yeah.
It's just,
but even at the shows, say like that one enjoyable hour of your day.
Well, that's what most people just don't fully understand is it's probably about 5% of this job is amazing.
Yeah.
The other 95% is dealing with American Airlines.
Well, you got to come over to Delta, man.
Oh, I'm a Delta all through and through, man.
There you go, yeah.
Come on, Diamond. I'm a Diamond Delta boy. Sometimes you have to fly American.
Yeah, that's true. No, I was with American for years, and yeah. I used to be their biggest advocate, man. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I used to be okay with them because before I moved to America, I was British Airways, which is also One World.
Yeah, of course.
So whenever I'd be in America, I'd always try and stay on One World.
Yep.
And then I got introduced to Delta. And life has never been the same.
Good over here.
Big up, Delta.
Shout out, sponsor of the podcast, Delta Airlines.
Yeah.
When did you move to the U.S.?
I've lived here since, actually, end of 2014.
Okay, so you've been here for a while now.
Yeah.
And did you go straight to L.A.?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Straight into the deep end.
Yeah, man.
That beautiful, beautiful, shitty, beautiful place.
Yeah. Gotta love
hate it. Yeah. It gets better the further out of L.A. you get.
That's the secret. That really is the secret.
The other side of the 101.
I lived in San Diego for 6 years, which is about as far out from LA as you can get.
While still in California.
I would still go there like once a week, but yeah, it was fine. You know, didn't have to deal with anything. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice living there as long as you don't try to be completely consumed by LA. That's when it gets sucky.
Well, yeah, I have to imagine for you, had you been to the U.S. much before that? Like on tour?
Like 2 or 3 years.
Or even with family or something?
Just traveling and like touring.
Yeah.
Because it was a while, but it was basically until I met my now girlfriend who I bit the bullet and moved out here.
Yeah.
But before that, I was just touring around, just coming in for like 2 weeks at a time, doing lots of
What were your
shows.
Initial impressions of coming to the U.S.?
Oh, it was a fucking dream.
Did it meet expectations?
I'd never been. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, what was your picture of it before you got there versus what you found?
Oh, it's exactly how I imagined it. Because I'd obviously just grown up seeing America in the movies and being like, oh my God, it's America. Yeah. And then, I came out. The first time I ever came to America, like the first day I stepped foot on American soil, I was playing at EDC Las Vegas.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
2012.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Talk about jumping in the deep end.
Deep end, right?
Because that's not even like, I don't know, that's like another dimension.
Yeah. So I did EDC Vegas, and then I went straight off stage pretty much, came back and then flew to Baltimore and did Starscape.
Oh, yeah.
when that was still
before
Moonrise
it became
and
sort of Moonrise,
whatever it's going to become next.
Yeah,
and that was interesting as well, because obviously by this point I was a bit more educated in dance music, and like obviously I'd become very fully aware of Noisia.
Right.
And at Starscape, the Noisia boys came and watched me play, and I was like freaking the fuck out. That, and I remember Jake Kill the Noise as well, because I admire him so much as well.
Right.
And like
everyone wanted to see the new kid.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was Kill the Noise, Noisia. I think John Feed Me was also there, possibly, and they were all just watching me on stage and like partying with me, and I was just like, this is fucking surreal.
Man.
Yeah. So that was pretty amazing. So that was my first ever experience of America. It was EDC Vegas and Starscape.
When was your first time DJing? Like if you came to it from the studio
I had a week
side.
to learn how to DJ.
Okay.
I put out my first EP before I'd ever known about DJing.
Okay.
So my first EP, Game Time, was end of 2011.
Yeah.
After that, Tommy Schism, my manager, was like, all right, we've got you a booking agent for Europe. And I was like, okay. What do you mean? It's like, oh, you're gonna DJ. I was like, what? I don't know how to do that. And he's just like, oh, it's fine. You'll be fine. Coming from Schism, who is like technically for me like the best DJ in the world.
Oh, he's so good.
No one comes close to his DJing skills. Like,
yeah, that's a very slept on part of Schism.
I mean, sadly, it's just completely overlooked in this day and age. Is the actual skill of DJing, which is like, it's fine. That's a whole nother topic and debate there, but like if you want to look at technical brilliance, Schism.
Oh yeah, I mean people like that. I think about guys like Diesel Boy. I mean they really show you how far the art can be elevated.
Yeah.
Not to mention Craze and A-Track and all those guys.
Obviously,
because I came to it from DJing. I was a DJ for years before I was a producer.
Yeah, I'm the opposite.
Right. And that is the paradigm now.
Yeah, I feel like I was in the beginning era of people that came in as producers and then had to learn how to DJ, rather than people that came in as DJs and then learned how to produce.
So they booked you a show with no notice, basically?
I had a week to learn how to DJ, and my first show was in Ministry of Sound in London.
Oh, God damn it.
Yep. Talk about being
not
thrown
taking it
in
slow here.
Exactly. So I literally said that, and funny enough, like on a side note, that's kind of where in that week that I had to learn how to DJ, that's where I developed my on-stage presence, which is pretty fucking flamboyant and energetic.
Yeah. Because
I just basically crash coursed a week of DJing and like watching videos of DJs, and I was just like, these guys are all fucking boring. Like, what are you... Like, give them something to look at.
Because there's
a reason why no one's looking
background.
at you and you're in the corner of the room because you're stood there doing nothing. And so for me, coming from being in metal bands, I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring my essence to this. I'm going to bring a bit of me into this DJing thing.
Yeah.
And first gig I did, I was just headbanging and jumping around on behind the booth, and everyone was just watching me like, what the fuck is happening? Because no one had really seen that before.
Yeah. Well, it's very authentic, I think. I mean, I've seen you
I can't help
shows.
it. Yeah,
right,
I don't.
Exactly.
It's not like I'm not putting that on. Like, you try and make me DJ standing still, and it's a awkward experience. Which is actually funny enough, talking like in that topic of like Schism. So I did my first and only ever official back-to-back last year, and it was with Schism. I would never do it with anyone else. Like, he's my manager. He's my he is my mentor.
Right.
My guru.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, I think, do you want to do a back-to-back together for Ever After Festival? And I was like, I guess fucking might as well. I've got to do it at some point.
Yeah.
Who better to do it than you?
He's the guy who threw you in all the other deep ends.
Exactly. And so we agreed to it, and it then dawned upon me, I was like, because of obviously how technically brilliant he is, Tommy is very stationary as a DJ, because he's obviously doing a lot of stuff back there compared to 99% of other DJs who are just kind of hit play, hands up.
Yeah.
Tommy is like always 4 decks in to a mix constantly. Right. So his style of DJing was so very different to mine.
Right.
So I was like, shit, I'm going to have to I had to ask him, he's got to bring his energy up to like a little level, and I've got to bring my energy way down, or else we're just going to look fucking stupid up there. And so the way for me to like do that is because ever since maybe like a year and a half into DJing, I'd always worn shorts because how much I jump around. Like
Right.
I would just split jeans. So I just started wearing shorts. And so the last year, for the first time in maybe like 5 or 6 years, I was like, I'm going to wear jeans so I don't jump around so much.
Oh, that's so
That
funny.
was what I had to do to kind of stop me, like to kind of tame me a bit.
Muzzle yourself. That's
Exactly.
so funny.
Yeah, that was my silencer.
But it's good, man. I mean, I think it is authentic to you, and I think you can tell it by watching. And another thing we were talking about, I think before we turned the mics on, is how at this day and age, everybody's got an LED screen.
Yep.
Everybody's got this sort of competing production, but also everybody's shit kind of looks the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, to me, what I connect with as a jaded old DJ at this point is that human connection. If I can tell someone's actually connecting to the
Interacting.
music and forming a human connection with the people watching them.
Yeah, which is what I love. I feed off of the crowd.
Yeah.
So I need to be like either pumping them up or them pumping me up.
Right.
So yeah, it's got to be done for me. Yeah, you'll never find me stood still. Even when I've been like on stage with food poisoning in Brazil with a camera crew on me,
This is very specific.
puking into I'm telling you an exact event right now. And I was still trying to give it my absolute, whatever I had left in my system, I was
Right.
trying to give it back to the crowd.
Oh, man.
Because I've always go, like, I don't care if I'm playing in front of 100 people or 20,000 people, like, I will still give them the same performance.
Well, and what's more metal than puking on stage, man?
Exactly, man. Fucking rock and roll, baby.
Oh, man. Well, how did you find, once you started touring around, you started putting out records with Never Say Die with some regularity, the tour lifestyle? Like, all of a sudden, you come from this sort of sheltered, smaller town,
Completely.
and all of a sudden you're being thrown all around the world doing these crazy shows.
Before Zomboy, I'd been on 4 flights in my entire life. Wow. And now I'm on like hundreds of flights a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a huge shock. It was, just going from complete mundane normality, growing up in a small town, to just traveling every weekend,
Yeah.
traveling around. It's actually quite funny, like hearing the innocent, young, dumb side of me, which is when we first started, like when Tommy and I first started emailing, like before we started fully like he started managing me properly, we were just kind of like talking a lot on email. And it's like he sends me an email, he's saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in like, I got a show in London today and then I'm in Switzerland tomorrow. And it's like my like sweet and innocent reply just being like, oh my God, that's so amazing and crazy. Like, I can't believe this is what you do. That sounds so cool.
Oh, that's
and he's
amazing.
still got these emails of me just sounding so like young and innocent and like
That's sweet, though.
bright-eyed.
Well, and I mean, it's kind of awesome to me. Never Say Die. I am friends with a bunch of people who are on that roster, and it's such a family vibe.
Yep.
Like in a way that you really don't see with a lot of other
Nope.
crews
Yep.
in this. And I love that.
Well, there are others, but it always looks very forced.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's either very forced or, like the typical thing for you, say, like a hypothetical alternate universe you is, you put out records with Never Say Die for a while, you blow up, you leave,
Yeah.
you start your own label and
yeah.
become this island unto yourself.
Yeah.
And I love that, people just stay with the family. And I think not only is it sweet and sort of heartwarming, but I think it helps everyone
Yeah.
on that team,
It really just goes to show you, like, they must be doing something right if they're
Yeah.
if they keep hold of everyone without any kind of fight.
That
everyone just
too.
wants to stay, and it's a big, loving, happy family there.
Yeah, and it seems like you all genuinely care about each other in a way.
Absolutely. We all lean on each other. We all have our ups and downs, and we can like kind of bounce it off of each other, and
Yeah.
it is like a real family.
Yeah. No, I remember when I had Lee on the show, that's what he was saying too.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think he was, on his way to work with you or something. And, he just like,
It's probably quite possible.
yeah. He sounded so happy about it. He was like, that's like my happy place.
Yeah.
It's just like being with, it's a family basically, which you don't see. I don't know why I'm
it's
stuck
true.
on it, but you really just don't see it.
Because, I mean, obviously everyone's trying to get their own name and try and be their own kind of, like you said, island.
Yeah.
But like for us, it's, we want to succeed, but we want to see our friends around us succeed too.
Well, sure. And I mean, it can get lonely on the island. You know?
It can.
And you see people who reach for that maybe a little too early or come on a little too strong.
Yep.
And then the island sinks. And
Big old tsunami comes and takes that island out.
Yeah, man.
Metaphorically, of course.
Yes. The last thing I wanted to sort of touch on is sort of where you see yourself fitting in this day and age. And we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've come into the game, and I think, whether intentionally or not, become a torchbearer for dubstep. And I think, like, I've even talked to people. I was talking to Lax. Even that night at the Palladium, I was hanging out with Lax. And we were talking about some new thing he was working on. And I was asking him some advice about some mastering thing I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, who's like really doing it? Like, who should I be studying? He was like, oh, Zomboy, obviously. And he's a guy who I think of as also pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
So
Jamie, man.
Yeah. Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
Best guy.
That good old fun-loving giraffe.
Oh my God.
Have you ever noticed he looks like a giraffe?
Now
Next time you
I
look at
cannot
him.
notice it.
His long-ass neck.
Oh man.
We call him Girax.
God damn it.
I'm sorry, Jamie, if you're listening. I love you.
I'm not going to tell it now because I think I've told it on the show before, but I'll tell you once we stop. The way I met him is like the best Jamie
I've got
story.
so many good stories about him.
Yeah.
Especially, it's mostly him on stage saying the completely wrong things.
Oh, that's great.
Panicking on the mic. So
like saying the wrong city or...
it's more like mashups of two things. So actually, we got two belters in one night at one of our NSD showcases in London. The first one was he was trying to do a count in to the drop, and he was like 1, 2, 4 jump. that was a good one. But then shortly after that, it was, I don't know what two different things he'd gotten mixed up, but he'd said, "Everybody make love." It's like, everybody make love.
I mean, I'm not mad at that. That's... I don't know if it's going to catch on, but...
Like, if you were in Germany at some fetish club, that would have taken a real different twist.
Way, yeah. I mean, but again, that's a very sweet thing that I could see Jamie saying.
Yeah. Lovable fool.
God, I love him. But all of that is to say, I think you have this status, even among the producer community we talked about before. I think you've managed to sort of thread the needle where you have a large fan base who loves what you do, but also that respect from the producer community. And I guess I'm curious your perspective, like, where do you see yourself? Do you feel like you're a torchbearer for any particular sound? Do you feel like you represent dubstep? Do you want to represent dubstep?
I mean, I obviously love dubstep because I wouldn't be here if I didn't. And I've always felt like I've stayed true to it. I've never kind of abandoned ship, which obviously had happened a lot during like the Purge.
Yeah.
Like the 2014 kind of era of everyone going like, dubstep's not cool, and everyone going, oh fuck, run away.
Yeah, no, I've talked about that with other people on this show.
Of course. And I just kept my faith in it and just it's such an interesting genre that's why I've always stuck to it.
Yeah.
I think that's the main reason I've stuck to it.
Well, because it can kind of be anything, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that...
it can take influence from anywhere and bring it into that world.
Yeah.
And just put a fucking gnarly drop on it and then you're good.
Right. Well, and you can do so much with the sound design. Like if you come from that engineering background, if you're deeply invested in sound design, I mean, it's, that's where all the best sound designers are.
Exactly.
More or less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, drum and bass, but...
Well, sure.
For me, anyway.
I kind of lump them together in a way, but...
so similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I guess...
I guess I'm asking, do you see yourself, or do you just ever want to, like, do you feel like, I want to try something different? Not that you want to abandon Zomboid, but...
I always, like, I managed to fill that gap in most of the releases I do. I do little things on the side, like different songs within the release that kind of get my, it makes it able for me to kind of flex my other kind of genre muscles. So I do my little adventures within like the same release. So I kind of keep my sanity there.
Yeah.
And again, to a point where I don't like alienate fan bases or like put anyone off my sound or anything. It's just, which is like, again, like I said, maybe that's because I've got such a forgiving fan base,
right,
or such a supportive fan base, whichever way you want to look at it. But yeah, I managed to just kind of tick all the boxes. But then electronic music, I kind of get to do what I want to do in Zomboy.
Where does it go from here? I mean, I feel like, dubstep is so crazy huge now, but obviously we were just talking about it crashed before. It'll crash again, as everything always does. And even, stage production, we talked about these LED walls getting bigger that I kind of am really over and don't care about so much.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a vision for what is coming up next, or are you just sort of enjoying the calm before whatever the next storm is?
I've never tried to predict.
Yeah.
Because it's just futile. You never know what people are going to catch on to and what
100%.
people are going to blow up. It could be anything. And I think trying to plan for that is disastrous.
Oh, I completely agree.
I think just going with it, making sure you're not repeating yourself too much, doing what you want to do, which is what I've always done.
Yeah. Do you know what you want to do now, though, I guess is what I'm asking?
I always end up putting it on the back burner, but I always want to write more like songs. I love writing songs.
Yeah.
And I try and get that in as much as possible, but I feel that's something real. It's not always bad, but I feel it's just really cheap writing these beautiful songs and then just going into a fucking drop.
Right.
Which
That's
is
the paradox of what we do.
It's
right?
exactly, but it's hard to not do that. It's hard to be a bass music producer, but writing just songs.
Yeah.
Whereas that's you kind of just have that. I guess it's just more like a trade-off is just going you write a really nice piece of music, and then the trade-off is if you want it to be successful, chuck a drop in there.
I feel like there's ways you could sell it. I guess this is getting into branding and that kind of thing. But
and it's more to the point where it's the only way you can really get away with that kind of stuff is full-length albums.
Yeah.
But no one's got the patience for a full-length album anymore. And there's not a place in the market for full lengths. There's not the attention span of the fan bases.
You did do that once, right?
Once, yeah. It wasn't even meant to be an album. It was just a bigger collective of tunes.
Yeah.
As opposed to a purpose written album.
Yeah.
And it's so rare that people get away with it. I think that the only few who've done it and gotten away with it are Nero. Who else? I
mean, people have tried. I mean, recently Getter's last record was a big departure.
Yeah, but I feel like that was something in its own category because it wasn't him doing his sound in an album form. He completely went and jumped.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. The album. Yeah. I mean, who else did it? Ghastly put out an album.
Right. It's just
somebody. Anyway,
a lot of most albums will just go so under the radar. It's so much work, and you put so much of your heart and soul into doing something like that big of a project for it to just be kind of emphasized by two singles. And I feel like an album this is where it's the dilemma. It's an album is the only real place that you can get away with writing songs and things that you're not typically known for, but at the same time, no one's got the patience for an album.
Yeah. Do you write on instruments? If you're writing a song?
Yeah.
Because you play instruments, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I play all sorts, but I mostly write on my guitars or just piano. And so much stuff I would love to put out. And maybe I'll do it under a different thing if I have the patience, a different alias one day.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy just finding my happy middle ground of doing the dance floor stuff and keeping the music fully alive within it, not just writing kind of. I mean, nothing to put against the kind of dance floor, just straight up bangers. There's a time and place for it, but I get more joy out of writing music first.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's what has sort of sustained your sound too, and I think what people identify you with, right?
Yeah.
Is it's not just the bangers.
Yeah.
It's, something that it's a melody that sticks in your head that they can sing a year later.
Yeah.
All that kind of thing. I think it's important to consider that, man. That's something I wish a lot of modern producers, to bring it back to what we were talking about, would consider more.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone can do it. That's the thing.
Well, true.
A lot of people aren't trained. I know so many producers, especially in the dubstep scene, that just aren't musically trained at all.
That's very true.
They just know. But even with those guys, how to sound design.
Then I want to chuck them in a room with a top liner or something, and or a songwriter, I don't know. I feel like there's always a way.
Yeah. I mean, there's a time and a place for every style of producer and production. It's just, if you really want to stand out, you kind of need to do it all.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
it's true. I mean, you kind of have to do it all, or you have to have such a strong vision for what you
and truly believe in
who
it.
you are,
Stick
right?
to it. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I think if you're trying to just sell yourself, right, and it's like, this is me, this is what I sound like.
Yeah.
I don't pander to whatever thing.
Which is exactly what I feel I've done. I hope that people see that that's kind of what I've done and not just kind of followed gimmicky trends. And I've paid attention to the culture around me and realized what's relevant and like drawn influences and brought it into mine. But I haven't just like ever fully jumped into like a trend or a hype.
Yeah, man.
I've just managed to, what I think I've hopefully just tastefully taken from bits and incorporated it into my own.
I would absolutely agree. I mean, it makes me think of to talk about Sonny again, the funny thing you guys had when he titled the track.
Oh, yeah.
The Bro Step track. That's the only time I can think of when.
Yeah. The funny thing is he didn't tell me that was going to happen.
Right.
It just kind of went out.
So for like the 1 minute version, just because I don't know if everybody knows the story, we got to at least tell that.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
So before I moved to America, I was in LA. I had some time. Whenever I toured in America, I'd always take my time off in LA, staying at the Grafton on Sunset, a little hotel up there.
Oh yeah, I know where that is. Yeah,
it's like the classic go-to if you're not from America and you're staying in LA.
Right.
That's where you would stay.
Yeah.
This little teeny tiny little dive hotel off Sunset.
Because Tommy likes that place.
Oh
right?
yeah. He stays with me now, but
he loves the Grafton. Recorded Lee's episode at that hotel.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the hotel of choice. But yeah, I was staying there. I had some 5 days off in between shows there. And Sonny invited me down to his studio because like everyone was going down to hang out. I think it was like me, Zed's Dead, Alvin Risk.
Oh yeah.
John, 12th Planet. It was just a bunch of us who I was like, again, this was very new to me. I was just like, oh shit. Everyone
all
in
the
one
heavy
room.
hitters.
Yeah. And we were just hanging out in the studio and he was just like, Sonny was just playing like all his whips in the background. And one of the songs in particular was just kind of like stuck in my head. And then I think it was maybe 6 months later when I was writing music, this rhythm and sound was in my head, and I couldn't think for the life of me why it was in there. But I was like, fuck it, I need to write this down. I need to get it written. Wrote it. It turned into Terror Squad. And then turns out that what I'd actually based it off of was nothing like the version that he was going to be releasing.
Right.
And then obviously he found it similar enough to just be like, this will be funny if I just completely copy Terror Squad now.
Right.
So like originally Terror Squad really didn't sound anything like the idea that
Skrillex had
started out as. But then he obviously just tongue-in-cheek
So after he heard yours, he went back.
Reworked his to sound exactly like mine.
Which is so fucking funny.
I was just like, it's like the biggest fucking compliment you could ever get. Your
Well,
fucking idol copied your song.
Did you talk to him about it after the fact? Like, was he?
Yeah. No, he was just like, yeah, that'd be really funny.
Okay, cool.
I was like, yeah, cool. Everyone fucking hates me.
And then he titled it, just for people who don't know, he titled it All Is Fair in Love and Bro Step.
And he followed up on like Twitter and stuff and was just like, this is all just a bit of fun.
Yeah. But the only reason I even thought of that's the only time I can remember you ever being associated with like that kind of label of like, oh, it's Bro Step.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the controversy that kind of helped put me on the map.
Well, sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, people might have hated you, but they knew your name.
Exactly. All press is good press.
Yeah, there you go. Well, before we get out of here, is there anything we haven't talked about, anything we haven't covered, anything that's coming up for you that you want people to know about?
No.
I mean, the EP's out.
EP's out. Rock and Roll Part 2 is out. The tour is just done after a really fucking crazy, good, successful tour.
Good.
We just wrapped up that 2.5-month bus tour around North America. Now we're just we're taking a bit of time away from the American markets just because obviously we've just played a lot of it over this last few months. So now I'm out doing a lot more in Asia and rest of the world.
Yeah.
So taking the summer away from America, kind of getting some more
avoiding the festival season a little bit here.
Yeah, exactly. We're waiting for the next year to do like the real heavy hitting festival runs again. But this year we're doing the same kind of festivals for the last 6 years. It's trying to take a year away, do some other stuff for summer.
Yeah, it's
come
good.
back freshly ready for it the next summer. And
get people stoked again. Yeah,
exactly. You gotta take yourself away from the market sometimes.
100%.
Get you more desirable again.
Well, you look very desirable to me, man. Yeah. I think you're doing great. The last question, you don't have to think about it too hard. Just the first thing that pops into your head. And time in your life, and this could be from any point, childhood, yesterday, whenever, when in a single moment, music really deeply affected you. And that's meant to be a really broad question.
That is huge.
That you can interpret any way you want, and it doesn't have to be a significant answer, kind of just looking for random access memory.
I mean, honestly, just that day I decided to leave everything I was used to in my comfort zone back in my hometown, and like music was the reason for that, and it was the purpose for me leaving and starting a new life. Not necessarily a new life, but the new chapter of my life, and that was huge for me, because if it wasn't for that thought of I want to be in music, I want it to be my life, I could still be maybe managing that coffee shop now.
Yeah,
and living in and around my hometown, and just not doing anything.
Yeah.
Anything
You might have taken
spectacular.
5 flights by now.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know. If I'm working manager, I would have taken a few holidays by now. If
Fair
I'm
enough.
manager of that coffee shop, then I'd at least expect a
But
holiday
it's
a
cool.
year.
You can look back and see a pivotal moment like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know that everybody has that, where, it's like, I took this fork in the road.
Yeah.
And this is the result of it.
Yeah, it's not always so polarizing for other people. Whereas for me, it was like that day
Yeah.
really marked it down as to...
And you said it was seeing that your friends were doing it, right?
Yeah.
That kind of gave you that idea, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
That makes me think of
That was my only comfort that I could take from like completely changing everything else in my life at that point, was knowing that my friends would be there. Like a few of my friends would be there with me.
That's so beautiful, man. I love that. And it makes me think of the Never Say Die family thing. Couldn't wrap that up better.
What is life without good friends, eh?
Well, thank you, man. This has been really fun.
Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care. Peace. All right, that's the show. Shout out to Zomboy. Great to sit down with you, man. That was such a fun evening. And for everybody out there listening, I appreciate you. I love you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget, Zomboy's Rotten Roll Part 2 EP is out right now on Never Say Die. Don't forget to check the link in the description of this episode to go follow Zomboy. Keep up with him. He's always on tour, always doing something worth paying attention to. My name is Willy Joy. You can always hit me up too at Willy Joy or at Back to Back Pod on all social media. And as always, backtobackpod@gmail.com is the email address. In a couple days, I'm flying off to Vegas for the weekend, doing some big podcast stuff that I can't really talk about just yet, but it's going to be worth it. I'm excited for you guys to see it. And until then, I hope you have a great week, a great weekend. Take care of yourself. Man, this is the best part of summer right now. So make sure you get outside, you spend some time with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Have some fun. And I will talk to you next week. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.